Hi everyone, my name is Dr Siobhán O'Connor and I'm excited to chat to you today about my published paper on injuries in collegiate ladies Gaelic footballers. So, a little bit about myself. I'm a certified athletic therapist. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Health and Human Performance at Dublin City University, and I lecture on the BSc in Athletic Therapy and Training. And I co-lead with Dr Enda White the Centre for Injury Prevention and Performance. Before I continue, I'd also like to give a shout out to my fellow authors and certified athletic therapists that helped with the research I'll be discussing today. Dr Enda White, Conor Bruce, Calvin Tehan and Elaine McDermott, and of course our DCU student athletic therapists and trainers who helped out with the data collection. Also huge thanks to DCU Docus Éireann and all the players and management who really made this research possible, especially Paul O'Brien, our interim head of Gaelic Games. So despite ladies Gaelic football being one of the most popular women's sports in Ireland and the fastest growing sport in Europe, unfortunately we are really lacking information on the injuries that occur in it. We know from the male game that injuries are common and the injury rate basically increases as the level of play increases, as you can see here. We also know that injuries are costly, with an average claim costing about €1,158. Injuries to the lower limb are predominant, and in elite players there is a current epidemic of hamstring strains in particular. But knee and ankle injuries also lead to substantial injury burden to both the player and the team. But it is really critical that we also have the information specific to female players, as injury rates and the injury profile can commonly differ between genders. So 2 previous studies have examined injuries in ladies Gaelic footballers. The first, Brown et al., utilised a retrospective online survey on 70 players, and Crowley et al. In 2011 examined insurance claims submitted to the governing body. While they were 2 useful studies, unfortunately, retrospective surveys may be limited by recall bias, and analysing insurance claims will examine more severe injuries, and we won't get a comprehensive idea of the full injury profile of ladies Gaelic footballers. So to develop injury programmes with the best chance of tangibly reducing injury risk, we first need accurate injury surveillance information. And the most accurate way of doing this is with a prospective study that basically gathers injury information as it happens. So what did we do? We recruited adult ladies Gaelic footballers that played at a college level from one institution, and we tracked all their time loss injuries for 2 seasons. Our DCU student athletic therapists and trainers, or a certified athletic therapist, attended all matches and trainings and filled in a standardised injury report form when an injury occurred. Injuries were also referred to the Free University's student-led clinic that were supervised by certified athletic therapists. So what did we find? The match injury rate was significantly higher than the training injury rate, as you can see here. And this is similar to what we have noticed in male players and is most likely due to the greater intensity matches are played at. But really interestingly is that the match injury rate in ladies Gaelic footballers is far higher than in male college players, which was found to be 25.1 injuries per 1,000 hours. This actually differs to what has been found previously in collegiate soccer, where the rates of injuries were really similar. This is really important finding as it highlights how important implementing injury prevention programs with their ladies Gaelic football teams on a regular basis is. The repeat incidence proportion then showed that 1 in 10 players sustained at least one other injury over the course of the season in the first year, with no repeat injuries in year 2. This is far less than the 25% reported in male college players previously. And this could be because previous research has shown that females are more likely to show concern about how their actual injury will impact their future health, which may make them more likely to complete and adhere to any rehab we give them, and less likely to return to play before they are ready. The injury profile of ladies Gaelic footballers was very similar to male players, with acute non-contact injuries and strains and sprains frequent. Hamstring injuries were most common, and the injury proportion of 21.5% was similar to what has been found in male players. The injury burden of 66.1 days absent per 1,000 hours, however, was greater than male collegiate players, which is found to be 38.6, and elite Gaelic footballers, which has been reported to be 57.2. So improving hamstring eccentric strength in female Gaelic footballers is really important, as preventative interventions that use exercises like the Nordic hamstring curls have been shown to reduce hamstring injury risk in female soccer players. Nordic hamstring curls are incorporated in warm-ups specific to GAA, like the GA15 and Activate GAA warm-up. So these may be very useful for our Ladies Gaelic footballers. Knee injuries were also common, and these led to the greatest injury burden of 106.5 days absent per 1,000 hours. So preventing both hamstring and knee injuries are critical due to their negative impact on both the player, but also player availability. Improving players' lower limb strength, neuromuscular control, balance, and teaching appropriate change of direction and landing drills would be really useful. Quad injuries and ankle injuries were also frequent, and almost 9% of injuries were a concussion. And this is slightly higher than has been previously reported in women's soccer players and Aussie rules players. They also led to 24.9 days absent per 1,000 hours from sport, which you can see here at the top. Encouraging players to report any suspected concussions they encounter, and ensuring coaches know that if a suspected concussion occurs, they need to remove the player from play for further evaluation by a certified athletic therapist or medical professional is required. Also, making sure players are aware that managing concussions through rehabilitation and progressive exposure to physical activity is really important to return to play as quickly and as safely as possible. Simply resting and returning when you feel better isn't really recommended. So what does this all mean? What we found with the study was that injuries are frequent in Ladies Gaelic football, and priority needs to be given to preventing these injuries, particularly hamstring and knee injuries, because of how common they are and their impact on player availability. There are specifically developed injury prevention programs for the GAA, like the GA15 and Activate GAA warm-up, that have been shown to reduce injury risk. And we need coaches to implement these before training and matches. I've included here 2 links to these injury prevention programs if you want to learn more about them. And these are really fantastic websites because they go through each of the exercises that are included in these warm-ups and how to deliver them. And there's some great videos on them as well. So if you're interested in implementing these with your Ladies Gaelic football team, this is a really good place to start. Recent research has also shown that the strength components of these preventative programs, like the GA15 and Activate GAA warm-up, can also be conducted at the end of a training session instead, if that's preferred. So that's something to consider as well if you're implementing them, that you don't need to do the strength parts in the warm-up itself. You can also have it at the end of training if that's what you prefer. Also remember that these injury prevention warm-ups, adding your own sport-specific drills to them, it can be really useful as well and encouraged. So if you would like further information on the paper I discussed today, I have a link to it here if you want to take a read of it. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to contact me, here's my details below. I'm on Twitter at Siobhán O'Connor 3, and I have my email address there, siobhan.o'connor@dcu.ie. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.